Everybody, what's going on? I'm on my way home, y'all. I had an awesome day today. It went by very quick. Thank you, Jesus. So I was just thinking on the way home because I was just commenting back with one of you ladies, and it was about I think you were talking about how you were abused by your ex-husband before he passed on and went on to be with the Lord. Um, that's another thing too. A lot of people have unforgiveness, and I can understand. I can understand why, especially because if you've been hurt. Like somebody could say to me, Mona, how could you forgive your husband when he just put you away, girl? He gave you the deuces. He and it's not funny. It's not funny, but after a while, you will learn. You will look back on things and say, you know what? I forgive. I forgive. You know, I forgive. And so, like, how do you get to the place? How do you get to that point when you just like, you know what, I forgive you for what you've done? I think when you realize how harsh and how terrible hell is, and you see and God shows you visions and you hear testimonies of how horrible that punishment is, you would not wish that on any of your enemies. You'll wish that on the devil, but you would not wish that on anyone who's done you wrong. And God doesn't want us to perish. He doesn't want us to go to hell. So that's why we have to forgive those, so that our Father may forgive us for what we have done. But what do you do when you know, like for instance, you can't get remarried? You're basically like short. Like you just, you can't have affection, you can't get married, you can't be with your husband, you can't be with your wife, and you are put away, and it's like they have the keys in their hands and they know it too. They dangle them, and it's just like, what do? You have to forgive. You have to forgive, and just keep praying and speak to the Lord. God knows your heart. He knows your desires. He knows what hurts you. He knows where you're standing at right now. But he'll also see it when you're just, when you openly, humbly, and really forgive, to let it go. Because you don't want people to hold that type of power over you. You don't want to have a bitter heart because of what somebody did to you. A lot of people get into second, third, fourth marriages, and they have these attitudes because of what somebody else did to them, or they're too afraid because of what somebody else did to them. Because to be honest with you, they haven't forgiven. Some people are just frightened, for real, for real. Some people are frightened. Like me personally, if my husband was to pass and I was allowed to get remarried, I would think very hard and I would think very long before I would even decide to jump the broom again, because you do give that other person a power over you. And what I mean by power, you are in one body. We understand that. We know what it is. Some people say, well, I will not be in an abusive relationship. God is not saying you have to be in an abusive relationship. However, if you marry your husband and he's beating on you and y'all separate, you can't get remarried. And it's the same thing with a man. If your wife has been putting her hands on you and y'all separated, you can't get remarried if they're still alive. Some people, you got evil people that would literally abuse their power. Jesus said that for husbands to love your wives as I love the church. Jesus don't beat up the church. Okay? Wives, be submissive unto your husbands as the church is submissive unto Jesus. Church don't talk and curse back at Jesus and disrespect Jesus and talk smack about. No, the church don't do that. We yield, we know, and really Jesus have given these just two instructions, one instruction for the husband and one instruction for the wife. And if both parties follow those basic instructions, follow those basic instructions, they wouldn't have no issues. Love and respect. That's it. But what do you do? Like, how do you do? You're going to get to a place where you're going to have to let it go. You're going to get to a place, hey, how are you? You're going to get to a place where you got to let it go. You got to just say, it is what it is. Okay? It hurt me. And you may have to scream and cry while you shouting it out. It hurt me, but I forgive you. I forgive you. I forgive you. You know, you knew, it's like in my situation, I love the Lord. I honor God. You know that I cannot commit adultery. You know that, right? And you put me in exile. You put me in a position where, and even but you also do something to the family, to the children too. You gotta forgive. You just have to forgive, because when you go before God, you don't want God to see any type of seeds that you've been holding back, any type of animosity, because it's easy for me to go around and curse at my husband and say he did this and he did, but that's a lot of energy. It's a lot of energy, I find myself sometimes, I never thought that I would laugh and giggle at certain stuff, but I find myself laughing at certain things. I'm like, he really took off. He took off with half of me like the gingerbread man. Like, he was just, fast and fast can be. You'll never catch me. And I'm like, babe, we took a covenant here. While you sitting up here having different girlfriends and stuff, we I said, you know what? Okay, Lord. If I'm gonna sit here, and I'm not just gonna sit, I'm gonna do God's will, at least I can get a good laugh at it. Hey. Cause but that came with forgiveness. That came with forgiveness, because if y'all been following me for a long time, y'all remember. If you remember when I was going to court and all of the mess that my husband put me through, you could say, Mona, yeah, you forgave, because I was going off. I was going off on everybody. I mean, I was going off so bad that, shoot, I was suing attorneys here. I was suing the attorneys that was doing the divorce. Even the attorneys were looking at me like, this is one. I mean, I went off, but, I forgive it. I forgive. I don't want my husband to go to hell. I don't want him to go to hell. And that's the truth. So I really pray that God really keeps him and he's around some God-fearing people. But it really, once you forgive, it takes the weight off. It's just like, I forgive you. You no longer will the enemy come when you're having a good time and whisper, remember what your husband did, and then you like, you know what I'm saying? You went from smiling and all of a sudden you ready to fight. Remember what your wife did? You ready to just do something crazy. But when you forgive, it no longer has authority over you, right? Remember what your husband did? Yeah, I remember. I wasn't funny, but hey, I'm going to tell you something. Marriage is not designed for abuse. Marriage is not designed for divorce. It's not designed for neglect. It's not designed to be put away. That was not what God's design for marriage is. And the thing is that all is not lost. God can revive a marriage and use both people, this covenant, as a testimony. You can learn something which you went through when you were in a covenant. You know what I mean? Yes, because some people, they can't see past it. I talk to people, they're not even married and they don't even want to utter forgiveness out of their lips. They point the finger so much that they have no idea they turn so bitter. They used to be so nice and sweet, but now they're so bitter because they allowed those situations, and you can see the cursing, the hooping, the hollering, people acting a fool. Why don't you just forgive? Just be like, I forgive you, I forgive you. Look at Joseph. His own brothers sold him into slavery. First they tried to put him in a ditch, and they heard him crying and screaming. They plotted. They were worse than the enemies out in the streets. These were his brothers. They plotted to kill him. Snatched off his coat and everything, put him in the ditch. He was crying like, please, take me out of this hole, please. And they heard him crying. So you know what they did? They sold him to the Egyptians for a couple of coins. And you know what they did? They went back to their father and said, he died. An animal ate him. Look at his cloak and the blood on it. Like, they just made up this whole lie. Joseph is in jail now. He's somewhere else. He's a slave now. But guess what? He had a gift. What was his gift? He could translate dreams, and also his father taught him how to work the land. So when famine came to Egypt, see what the devil meant to do for worse, God took it and did it for good. Shoot, my husband put me away. You know I should be the last person talking about on front line for covenant marriages. You would think, right? Mona, you got put away, you got dogged and some more. Your husband changed it. He did all of this, girl. How you gonna sit up there and forgive? Because I got a God that forgave me. Shoot, and when I was in the world acting crazy. But now I'm front line and I'm like, covenants are real. Covenants are real, like, yeah. So, but yeah, his brother sold him. Went back to their father like, Joseph died, Dad. And I'm going to tell you something. One thing about that story, people will believe their lies. People will believe their lies that when they see you, you're unrecognizable. Like when they saw their own brother Joseph, he was unrecognizable. They went to Egypt because there was a famine in the land. And the same ones that put him up had no idea he became the king's right-hand man. The top official right-hand man. He was able to translate dreams. He told him, look, this famine is coming. For seven good years, Egypt gonna be eating good. But after that, it's gonna be a drought. It's not gonna be no food. People gonna be dying. But he said, look, I got the remedy for that. All we got to do is do this and do that and store up this and store up that. Because what did he know how to do? He knew how to work the land. He knew how to grow crops. His father taught him that. So when the brothers came back to buy stuff, they couldn't even recognize his brother had been transformed into a royalty. That when he asked them, do y'all have another brother? Like, how many of it is y'all? They believed their lies so much they had no idea they was looking at their brother in the face and said, we had another brother, but he died. No, didn't even know you looking at your brother. And you know what? He could have looked at them like, you lying fools. I want all y'all heads on a stick. Tell my father I'm alive. Nowadays, people wouldn't even forgive. Yeah, y'all thought y'all was going to sell me, huh? Look at me now. He could have been prideful, couldn't he? Joseph could have been like, and I still got my coat. No, that's right. They took the coat. He could have said, I got somebody to make me a new coat. Go get my father and tell him I'm alive. He could have went ham on them. But he didn't. Instead, he cried. He was grateful to see his brothers. And he forgave them. I mean, he set them up by planting some stuff in their bags. If y'all don't know the story, y'all need to read the story. Because Joseph could translate dreams, and he could translate them real good. He was a prophet. He didn't commit adultery, none of that. And when his own brothers sold him, and when they sold him, they sold him. God used that and he turned it into something good. He was able to save Egypt and those around Egypt. He brought in a whole generation to live in Egypt. That's where that genocide happened, because they saw that the Israelites were outnumbering them. Those were Joseph folks. So, but he forgave though. That's a harsh thing when you had all your brothers turn, well, the youngest one, he was still young, but you had majority of all your brothers just turn their backs on you, hearing you crying, and they like, shut up. And you know, a lot of people that tell that story, they always try to say, oh, that's because Joseph, he was always like, look what I got, look what this and the third. And I'm like, I didn't see nothing wrong with Joseph. Do y'all have minds like the brothers? I remember me and my husband having a conversation about that after Bible study. I'm like, why are they sitting up there? Okay, if he had a coat, y'all was supposed to be like, oh, brother, that look good on you. Yeah, that's your collar. Instead, y'all getting jealous. He had a dream about some stars yielding down to him. Instead of saying, oh, snap, so that means you want to rule. Look, make sure you build me a house. Y'all got jealous. Like, who has a mind like that? These evil brothers, or these, I don't know what you want to call it, but they were supposed to be his brothers. If my sister have a dream like that, I'm like, bet. If the Lord bless my sister, I'm be like, hey, what's up, big sister? I'm gonna be like, what's up? Don't act like you don't know me. I'm the oldest. I'm one of the oldest ones. Come on now, come up off that. Help a sister out. You know, we happy. We rejoice when our folks do stuff like that. But we have to learn from the stories in the Bible. We have to learn that we have to forgive too. He cried when he saw his brothers. He cried because it hurt him, and he was also happy to see them, and they still had their life. And then when he found out that his father was still alive, you know what? That's a shame. I mean, but it's so graceful that he forgave them. And they cried too. They cried too because he didn't turn or conform like them. So when people do things, you know, because like I said, nowadays, somebody do something wrong to you people not so quick to forgive. They like, remember you did that to me? Remember you did that? Now look at me now. You know, they'll start bragging and boasting. But remember, pride comes before the fall. You know? I mean, I forgive my husband. But I will be like, boy, you know, that was messed up. That was messed up. You had me holding on to my eyelashes. I don't even know if I have any left after dealing with you. But I can laugh at it now. Before then, I thought I was going crack like an egg, you know. But God held it together. And to be honest with you, I still love my